What is up, my kings, my queens, my royals in between? I'm Lord Russell. This is Kaizo Ironmon Fire Red. Well, sort of. So, if you missed the last episode of Kaizo Ironmon Fire Red, we did not beat Brock in a 3-hour span, so we've taken it off the stream list, but I did mention that I wanted to check something out, and I kind of put a little twist on Kaizo Ironmon myself, and I'm going to call it Lord Russell's Ironmon, or Lord's Ironmon for short. And pretty much all it is the same exact rules as Kaizo Ironmon, but there are no limitations to the Pokemon you can pick, the abilities you can have, or the moves that you can use. Everything else is still completely the same. If you want to know the full list of actual rules for Kaizo Ironmon, either follow along here, and I'll probably mention a good chunk of them as I commentate over the recording I have here, or you can go down to the link in the doobly-doo. I have a link to the actual full rule set there, so that way you can look at it at your leisure and kind of, piece it together for yourself. If you don't know what a Kaizo Ironmon run is, long story short, it's a Nuzlocke randomizer on steroids. Again, watch along, and you should be able to get the general gist of things, of how just absolutely nuts things will get. But I have everything sped up to 2 times speed, so we're definitely going to be zooming through here, as well as I've cut out all of the runs that either A, didn't make it to Brock, or B, didn't have a normally banned Pokemon, because I want to go through and I want to see exactly what the deal is if the Kaizo Ironmon rules are like legitimately like, okay, this has to be a challenge, and if you get one of these banned Pokemon, it just becomes too easy and the challenge is just gone, or if it's just like, we're trying to make this as hard as humanly possible without making it impossible type of deal. And that's what we're going to find out here in these next handful of videos. As of right now of recording this, I have up to about 200 runs doing this. The first about 100 or so, maybe like 150. If I notice a legendary Pokemon once we get out of the lab isn't quite right, like it has its speed stat just absolutely garbage, or it has just a horrible defense stat type of deal, I try to take the time to pivot. Like, it's like, okay, I don't know if this will necessarily work. Like, kind of right here, I'm searching through with Jirachi to see, okay, can I find something better? Because that 8 defense is kind of scary, to be honest. But if we can get to a certain point, like, maybe we just run it type of deal. But it's like, you gotta look, right? You gotta look. But later on, probably like I said, after the first 100 or so, we get to the point where I'm just like, you know what? We're here to see if the banned Pokemon are actually, worth it or not. Whether their stats are in the right spots or not. Maybe their base stat will actually do what we need it to do type of deal. So after a certain point, once we get a legendary out of the lab, we just run the legendary. We don't stop. But overall, I will say, like, a lot of interesting runs have come up, different, like, kind of stat spreads and all that, different move sets that have come up that have been very interesting. It's been a whole interesting run. So definitely, if you end up enjoying the content, definitely drop a like and a sub. It'll let me know I'm doing a good job. It'll let the algorithm know I'm doing a good job. Plus, it'll let me know that, like, you actually enjoy, like, this kind of form of, I pre-record, like, actual, like, semi-decent runs, and runs that kind of fall under the umbrella of what we're doing here, and just kind of like commentating over it type of deal, because, no hands, ma. But I will say, luckily for me, within the handful of different runs that I have done, we have ran into a nice handful of either legendary or pseudo-legendary banned Pokemon. But if you've ever had your own Kaizo Ironmon kind of runs, definitely let me know down in the comments down below if you think having a legendary or a pseudo-legendary or any kind of ability would be too broken. And I will let you know what I think by the end of this. My original thinking of this is, I could see how it could possibly be broken, but with how much RNG is put into these runs, it makes it feel incredibly hard to believe that you would absolutely like just dominate just because you get a Pokemon with a 600 or higher base stat type of deal. I could see where certain abilities could make things incredibly more like better in your favor, but I don't personally see how it could like break the game and make the run a cakewalk. And same with the moves is probably where my thinking like goes like, okay, well, if you get a move that can heal yourself or you get a guaranteed status effect, I can see how those would be pretty big game changers, right? Like, you give me a like a Giga Drain, a Mega Drain, or something like that, and I can heal up damage mid battle without having to use any of my items. That's like a really big thing. Like, that could help out a whole lot, right? Oh, also, if at any point in time you see me just hit the pause right here, more often than not, that means I had to get up and go do something, and I just want that like kind of fresh cut. So I give it that pause, I let it kind of go through, and then I cut like right when I come back, so it's not like the entire time. Like $20 says like I was probably paused there for at least 20 minutes or something, running around the house doing something, taking care of the dog, what have you. As you can see, we're trying to get ourselves a Dragonite here because, I mean, again, pseudo legendary feels like it's a pretty big slam dunk of like, okay, that's at least 70 more base stats. You should be good, right? Now, as you can see here with the stat spread, overall pretty decent. I wish the attack was a little bit lower and the speed was got a bit higher. But with that being said, overall not bad. We've done more with less, to be honest. And then the moveset, honestly pretty good, especially with the fact that we are a special attacker here. That definitely makes a nice big difference. And then Q-Charm's not necessarily bad to have. It's nothing special, it's just, you know, it's there. It's like, I will also say, don't expect me to know exactly what's going on, because I recorded these probably like 4 or 5 days ago at this point. So this is gonna be as much of a new experience for me as it is for you, right? It's like, yes, I've lived this, I've done this, but I don't remember. My general guess is, unless something comes up specifically that's really gonna give us the business, I think we should probably be okay to at least make it to Brock. Our speed will 100% be our major downfall. Either that or an ice attack or a really strong rock attack, like a good stone edge or something. Those would probably be the two things that I'd be really worried about. Though luckily our special defense is actually pretty beefy, so we could probably tank like a powdered snow or an icy wind or something like that. Throw like an ice punch or an ice beam at us, we're probably boned. And just like that, we are at least through the forest, and we're getting ready to go take care of the what's the word I'm looking for? God, the rival. I know words. Words good. Plus, I'm also going to take a wild guess and say we're about 10 minutes into the recording right now at this point. I mean, technically more like 9, but you know what I mean. But more often than not, people don't normally watch that far, which, you know, to each their own. Right, we died to Destiny Bond here. We got screwed over by Destiny Bond because we couldn't one-shot this Kabutops for some reason. I will say, if you go back through my other Kaizo Ironmons, a lot of the time I don't normally run into problems of like Destiny Bond counter and like Mirror Code or anything like that, or even Perish Song, or at least like not to the point where it gets me killed. I'm usually like pretty okay at that type of deal. But I think that was like the first time I've ever actually been taken out by Destiny Bond. Which, you know, both good and bad. Because I think, I truly do think that Dragonite could have been pretty darn good. Like this Lugia right here, Lugia pretty good overall. It's pretty like even across the board. Special attacks the lower of the two attacks, which is perfectly fine. But the only real problem is the fact that we only have Ancient Power to really back us up. Now later on down the line in the runs, I probably would have just taken the time to run this without even scouting, because it's like, okay, the stats are generally there. I could probably survive off of Ancient Power and Aurora Beam and just hope that I get a decent move after getting up to level 9. Yeah, level 9, or wait, no, 11. That's even worse. Another thing that you will notice, that I noticed, and I don't know why I didn't think of this ahead of time, but all of the legendary Pokemon, they take more XP to actually level up. So more often than not, you're coming out of the lab at a lower level than what you'd want to be. And if you do make it through everything, and you make it to Brock, you're going in at a lower level than what you would normally be. It's not like usually a lot lower level, but instead of like being there like 18 on average, like 17 on a bad run, 19 on a really good run, you're probably going in more like 15, 16, depending on, you know, what you run into. The ever-loving thing of trying to just search for a pivot. It's like, yeah, I want to search for a pivot, and that'd be nice, but I don't know why, because I've watched other people play through these, and it, like, they don't ever seem to really have that much trouble in comparison. And, like, they at least, like, run into, like, everything, and it's like, okay, cool, good for you, but, like, I don't know why, but there's always at least, like, 1 or 2 routes where it's like, we're not going to show you the last thing. It's like, and you're never gonna get it. And it's so annoying. Now you would think having a 670 slacking that doesn't have Truant would be a slam dunk, but between stats and obviously not having, you know, a moveset that actually works against the opponent you're going up against, it's not enough. It's like, cool, base stats are fine and all, and you can have that and that'll, you know, help you out, but it's not gonna necessarily do you any good. But like Groudon here, we got super lucky with the Barrage 5 stacking there at the, I think both times that we used it. Like if we didn't 5 stack both those times, we never would have made it out of there. We made it out by the skin of our teeth. But you're looking at the stats, like, you love to see the 25, you love to see the attack higher than the special attack or vice versa. Like everything here is pretty darn good. I wish the attack was a bit higher. To be honest, I was like looking at this, I don't know why I'm trying to pivot. Maybe I'm just trying to look at something because we have Barrage. It's pretty, oh, I know why. It's because we only have the 1 physical attack and we have 2 special attacks, and that's not like the right kind of like setup for the stats itself. Now granted, both of the special attacks that we have are pretty decent attacks, especially Flamethrower, and our special attack isn't like so far off that it's like unusable. Definitely in a later run I would have just ran this happily and be like, you know what, this is probably fine. I think I don't end up finding anything worth pivoting to, so I'm like, okay, we're just gonna run it anyways. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting way of, like, I guess kind of thinking things. Now, one thing you'll probably notice is once we get to that last like invisible item in front of that like last trainer in the forest, you'll notice me actually like slow down a bit, because I normally play this game anywhere from like 400% to 800% depending on like what I'm trying to do. And for an 800%, I can't reliably just move one square, so I always bump it all the way down to just like average 100%, just so I can like bump my way up. Because there's been well, not a handful of times, like maybe like 2-3 times where I didn't think to bump the speed down, and I accidentally fought the trainer there and have died. I think I don't know if it's in this specific set of runs or if it's going to be in like a later episode, but I do remember accidentally fighting that trainer and actually winning, which was surprising to me because I think I was like a level like 6 or 7 or something stupid like that, and I think they have like a level 11 or maybe 13. Like the fact that I even won was just wild to me. Yeah, we tried to go for the Milotech there. Like, Milotech definitely is a great Pokemon to pick up if you can find one. Great base stats and just overall, like, usually tends to be pretty reliable. Now, one thing I've definitely noticed is Pokemon like the legendary birds and the legendary dogs, or legendary beasts if you want to be super technical, but they don't like, they always seem to be like a real pain in my ass to fight, but when you get them yourselves, they're not that, they never seem to stack up. And I don't know if that's just like RNG not in my favor, or it's the fact that the rival starts off 3 levels above you and that never helps out. I mainly blame RNG because I feel like a lot of times like things don't really, you know, pan out for me, and I don't know why. Like, I'll occasionally get that like one Pokemon that's like really well set up, and then I'll like have a semi-decent run, but I don't know. I feel like from what I've seen other people play, they tend to have better RNG than me. Like, yeah, you'll see them run through like a handful of different like lab sims type of deal, but like at the very least for them, usually if they can get out, I usually feel like they're at least either always making it to Brock if they can get out more often than not, or they can actually make it past Brock, where I've only been able to make it past Brock like a handful of times. Now, if you've made it this far and you haven't like necessarily picked up on how kind of Kaizo Ironmon works, especially with the fact that everything's going at like 2 times speed, quick little like overarching rundown to give you like a little bit more of an idea. So first things first, if you haven't picked it up, you can only use one Pokemon. You only get the one, period, end of story. Now, more often than not, with the Kaizo Ironmon run, you can't have any Pokemon that is above, not above, that's 600 base stat or higher. So that's why a lot of like legendaries are banned. There are some legendaries that don't technically have 600 base stat, but legendaries are also included in the, hey, you're not allowed to choose these. But just for like a regular Kaizo Ironmon, you do have 3 favorites, and I think you are technically allowed to pick 1 legendary as a favorite. Just like in any Nuzlocke, you're only allowed to catch 1 Pokemon, or yeah, you're only allowed to catch 1 Pokemon because you're not even allowed to battle wild Pokemon for what's the word I'm looking for? You're not even allowed to battle wild Pokemon for XP. The only time you're allowed to do that is if you happen to run into a shiny Pokemon. If you run into a shiny Pokemon, that's a free kill, so you get a little XP. That's like a little bonus for you type of deal, right? Other than that, in Kaizo Ironmon, there's like, I think 3 or 4 abilities that are banned. Nothing that I personally think too crazy. I know like huge power is one of them, and it's like I could see how that could be good, but I don't necessarily see that being necessarily amazing. Like, you'd have to get enough RNG to be like a physical attacker to actually, you know, use the benefits of huge power, right? So I don't necessarily see that necessarily being a big thing. Banned moves are essentially anything that's a 100% status effect guarantee. So I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Is there pretty much like I think Thunder Wave is 100% accuracy, so you can't use Thunder Wave. But something like a Sweet Kiss that I think has like an 85 or something like that. Again, don't quote me on this. I'm not an expert on percentages and whatnot, but like anything that doesn't have 100% that can cause the status effect, you can use that. That's not a big deal. And then I'm trying to think. Then there's like other like little minute rules of like what's allowed as a held item, which is literally anything that can be consumed by the Pokemon mid-battle. So like berries, and I think it's what, white herb that can also do that. You're not allowed to heal outside of battle, not even for like status effect stuff. I think you're only allowed to, the only thing you're allowed to buy in the Pokemarts are balls to catch Pokemon and repels. So there's that little restriction as well. Trying to think, am I missing anything? I don't think I am. At least not anything that's like hyper major. Now, I could definitely understand like how some held items could make the game a lot easier and probably take it to that point of, okay, you made the game a little too easy. This is not really that much of a challenge anymore. So like items like leftovers, or if you happen to have like a specific move and you have like the item that boosts the attack of that, like having a Mewtwo with Psychic with a Twisted Spoon that has like the Mewtwo has like a high special attack, like you're pretty much almost guaranteeing that you're gonna have a one shot, and that the more the more things that you can one shot in this game, the better off you're gonna be. And I understand like this is supposed to be a challenge, and that's why, you know, a lot of people like tend to do it just because they want that challenge, and I want that challenge too. It's just I'm interested in seeing, is the challenge really in like the game itself, or is it you've put so many rules and restraints on the game overall that you don't really have that that kind of option, right? And I don't know, it's definitely one of those things where I'm not 100% sure what's the exact right answer. I know there's the Super Kaizo Ironmon. I know that one's pretty big, where it's like I think it's got slightly modified rules where it is tougher, but it isn't. But it's like got some things to like kind of balance it out. Like I know all the trainers have smart AI in Super Kaizo Ironmon, and you're allowed to like use moves that do heal you. So things like Giga Drain and all that are free game. And the big thing in that is that you have to pivot a Pokemon in the Safari Zone. And that's like one of the big interesting things, right? Because normally you realistically wouldn't pivot at Safari Zone in a regular Kaizo Ironmon, because if you can get to the Safari Zone with a Pokemon, you probably don't want to swap it out for anything, right? But it's just adding on that extra bit of challenge. And I think also in the Super Kaizo Ironmon, it takes away, or like either you have a patch that takes away all the hidden items, or you're just not allowed to take them. I can't remember which. I'm sure I'm sure you could technically just do both. But one of the things that people have done, because Super Kaizo Ironmon is kind of nuts, I can't remember if it's subpar Kaizo Ironmon or superb Kaizo Ironmon. It's one of the two, but it's like a lesser version of Super Kaizo Ironmon that essentially allows you to like pick up any of the items just so you can kind of see like, okay, we can get some extra items and that'll help, you know, push things along, because item economy is definitely a very big thing when it comes to Kaizo Ironmon. If you can get a bunch of heals along the way, you're probably gonna be looking pretty good, right? But it's also about actually like making it to where you need to go to and then like actually having the items when you need them type of deal. So, you know, if you can't even make it there to use the items to begin with, like what's the point? Like more often than not, like if you really want to be in a good spot, you don't want to use any healing items before you actually make it to Brock. Now obviously, like if you have a good Pokemon and you want the run to continue, obviously take the time, use the heals when you can, but it's like if you can avoid it, go and just do your best to not use any heals whatsoever, right? Now I'm thinking, because yeah, I think this Houndoom was actually pretty decent speed, special defense, and defense are kind of but that special attack and the health, that works out. Like that health's pretty good. I think that can kind of balance out the slightly mediocre defenses. Like the defenses aren't like bad, but they're not like, oh my god, we're good, we're gonna be able to tank so many hits, right? So I don't think we end up pivoting off of this Houndoom. I think Houndoom works for us. I will say, like, one of the biggest things that I have noticed, and I know other people have mentioned this, so this isn't like anything specifically new, but stats are great and all, but I think the biggest thing that's going to give you a like actually a good run is a good move set. A good move set will carry you, because if you can get a good move set, you'll be cooking. I mean, I'd even go as far as to say it's like, if you can have at least a kind of matching move set, you'll be fine. Like, obviously, it's like, okay, if you're a special attacker, you want things like a flamethrower, thunderbolt. Like, you want the good versions of those types of moves, right? Like, so that you can like do as much damage as humanly possible. But it's like you can probably rely on like some of the middle tier ones as well, where it's like, okay, it's like it does like 50 to 60 power, and you know that's good enough. You don't need the things that do like 70 and up. Like, even though those would be great to have, you can get away with 50s, especially if you can get lucky enough to also have like a stab on top of it. That's a big thing. It's also nice, like, if you can avoid it, try not to double up on moves, because if you do, you end up like kind of pigeonholing yourself. So like if you run into something like, say, that's weak to grass, like if I run into something that's weak to grass here and I have like 3 grass moves, I'm probably gonna have a bad time. I don't think I've ever really seen anybody get to the point of having like 3 of the same type of move, but like even doubling up isn't necessarily the greatest. But obviously at a certain point, it's like, okay, you're a special attacker, get as much special attack as you can. It makes sense, right? But generally, if you can avoid it, that's always a big help. Alright, I think we might be getting close to the end here, because I'm seeing we're at like about 29 minutes, and I think the first recording's like 36. I think we're, yeah, I was gonna say we at least make it to Brock here, which is nice. We make it to Brock, we have a full set of like actual moves that will do things, not necessarily anything great. Special attack being 51 is huge. Speed being 49 is probably a bit much. We probably don't need to be necessarily at 49 at level 19. Like, it's nice, like if we could make it through, like we'd definitely probably be guaranteed to go first like 99% of the time. Always make sure to check your berry pouches, but especially when you're about to go into a gym. That's another rule. When it comes to things like gyms and caves, anything that's considered a dungeon, those are like, you have to clear them in one go. You can't leave, heal, and come back type of deal. You have to clear them in one go. Like I think we put in a pretty good fight here. Because we won, we win, we beat Brock, but because we can't heal, and the Poké Center's literally, like, I would say 14 steps worth away from Brock's gym, we lose out. Which sucks, which absolutely sucks. Like, that was, we beat Brock, but Brock gets the last laugh because he ends the run. So we can say at the very least, within 100 runs, we're able to beat Brock, which is honestly pretty good from what I've noticed. Because the first time I tried Kaizo Ironmon, I think I beat Brock for the first time. Like, I think it was like high 80s, low 90s. Okay, and we're up to attempt 91 right now in this. But, and with that first run, we actually, like, we made it the furthest we've ever made it. So, like, kind of crazy, like, the first real run that we get, we make it as, like, the furthest we've ever made it. It's kind of wild. And we make it all the way to Erica, but we lose to, I think, either the second to last or the last trainer right before Erica, because unfortunately with the moveset our Espeon had, we did not have enough PP to like carry us through and just kill everything. Like, we had great stats and we were like one-shotting a lot of things. It's just we didn't have the PP to make it work, right? Which, you know, never a fun thing. That's another thing that you want to generally just keep in mind, is like, you want to make sure you got that PP economy, right? You get too many moves that only have 5 PP and you're probably gonna not be in a good spot. Either A, you're forced to miss out on a lot of battles because you have to skip pretty much anything and everything, so you can be like, okay, I need to keep my PP for like the actual important battles where you can't skip them. Or like, you're in the middle of a battle and you're like, okay, I was like, I know this move will be super effective, but I don't know what's coming up down the line, and I might need this move later, and I have a move that could generally work. And it's like trying to play that balancing game of, okay, what's going to actually work best for what we're gonna do, right? I do wish, like, one thing that would be nice, and I don't see why necessarily. And that was it. So that was the last run there, as you can tell. But I'll finish up my thought and then we'll wrap it up here. I do wish that one of the rules was you could use any TM that you find and pick up, because it's all randomized anyways. Like, again, I can understand how that would possibly make things easier, but I feel like you should be able to use any TM that you can find and not just rely on the ones that you get from the lab, whether it's like on your Pokemon Actually, I don't think you can pick one. I don't think the random item that you can get from the lab is ever going to be TM. So there's a chance you can get an item on your starter Pokemon, which you can use that, and then all the TMs that you get from what's the word I'm looking for? From the gyms. Like, I kind of wish you could use those. It's like not just those, as well as I don't care for not being able to use HMs. Now, granted, the only HM really worth a damn is honestly Surf. Let's be real. Maybe Strength if you have an attack built Pokemon, but I don't know. I feel like those should be fair game as well, but I'm not the one who made the rules. I just kind of, messed around with these just to see what would actually work out. But that's enough out of me. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for joining me. I truly do appreciate it. Again, let me know in the comments down below if you actually kind of like this setup right here. It's like I'm just trying something different so I can kind of get that extra little bit of content out there. And for those who actually have been enjoying the Kaizo Ironmon stuff and are sad to see it go, you'll at least be able to still get this. But we'll see where we're at. I got I think 3 more videos to kind of put out, all of which are going to be roughly about a half hour or so or whatever. So there's that. Other than that, if these videos don't happen to do necessarily well, I'll probably cut it off at the last one. But either way, it's I at least wanted to go through this and kind of show this off. Definitely let me know what you think of this. Let me know if you think that's kind of tweaking the rule sets kind of interesting, if you really think it makes a big deal or not, because as of right now, from what I'm seeing, no, it really doesn't. It's it's just an extra bit layer of challenge for challenge's sake. But with the way the RNG is, it don't matter what Pokemon you pick. It's you just gotta hope for that right move set and the stat spread. That's literally all it is. It doesn't matter what the base stats are for the most part. But either way, thank you again for your time. I truly do appreciate it, and I will catch you in the next one.